It's fear. I'm spitting a little, but we're 6 feet. It's fear. And you know what? Mommy's fear is feeding into your fear. And I haven't met Dad yet, but I'm sure he's got some shit that he's spilling over into you, Mom, that's going into him. That's why you all need to be here, and I'm going to brainwash you and detox your soul so you wake up and this shit stops. I'm trying to remain calm right now. Because it's like, I want that, I want it so, listen. In all honesty, if I said, how many people are at 500 in this room, and all your hands were going up, it's a different conversation, guys. It's a different conversation. But you got to have a real gut check right now. You got to wake the flip up. You got to find that thing and ask yourself, why? If it's your weekend practice, I get it. Don't tell me COVID. I wish we could just come out and say we cure COVID. Just mix your words up, right? But there's so many sick and suffering families out there right now that my 18-year-old daughter, now 19, just had a birthday, could see it. She could see it and feel it and come back to me 2 days later and say, I want to be a chiropractor. And her exact words is, Dad, I want to serve people and help these people. I want to serve people and help these people. Give, love, serve is the motto we live by, right? The magic is, in the beginning, I gave it away, which stole my energy. And if I kept it up, it would have potentially robbed my family. Frank Savinsky said, every time you make a deal, realize you're taking away from your kids. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You know where to get me. You're taking it away from your kids. And I could probably say my kids, all 5 of them have passports. Okay? They've traveled the world. They've traveled the country. They're national athletes. They're high honor students. And that could have been a whole different story if we didn't live by this principle. It could be a whole other story for all these other families that are suffering, that my daughter Kylie saw the suffering of these people. If they had this principle, their life will have a different outcome. Are you with me on that? The magic is, how did I get this way? How did I get so fired up with this principle? When I went to chiropractic school, my original dream was to be a professional baseball player. I was a pitcher. Going into my sophomore year of high school, I was throwing 92 miles per hour. I started having a couple professional teams looking at me. So now it was like, wow, I'm going to go to professional baseball. And then I tore my rotator cuff really bad, had surgery, never came back. So I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do, squandered. My parents were divorced. We had a whole shitstorm in our life. I was mad at God. Went to college, became a bartender, bouncer. I was in the Bronx. Was living a different kind of lifestyle, let's put it that way. I was an English major just because it came easy to me. Had no idea. At one point I wanted to be a lawyer. I saw one of my fraternity brothers studying at 3 a.m. and how little the words were. I said, well, I'm not doing that. And my mom had like 3 jobs. And she started working part-time for a chiropractor. And my mom was this little Irish lady. And I'd come home and she said, you should be a chiropractor. I'm not smart enough. You should be a chiropractor. Yeah, sure. And she wears this big gold ring that to this day I have sitting on my sink that I stare at every morning. And she would punch me in the chest. Now I recognize it as neuro-linguistic programming. But she was a tough little lady from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and she would punch me in the chest and say, you need to be a chiropractor. So at the end of my junior year, I said, what is chiropractic? Let me find out. So I went to my guidance counselor and I said, what do I have to do to become a chiropractor? And he said, not you. Not you. I had a job offer with IBM. They were going to train me as a motivational speaker. My career development teacher fell in love with me, introduced me to her husband, and they were going to bring me in, starting out at $185,000 a year. And I was only a junior in college, so they were going to wait until I finished up. So my guidance counselor pulls out my career development file, and he says, look, you're strong in these things, but science was like the opposite way. He said, you'll fail. Well, I'm like, well, then I'm doing it. So he threw the file on my chest and said, get out of my office. So I enrolled in biology and physics, and I got a 33 on my biology midterm, and physics I got like a 45. So I had to drop the courses. So what I had learned, what I did is I went out to the bar and started pounding Guinnesses and feeling sorry for myself. And then I realized when I left the place and I had my sunglasses on and I was feeling sorry for myself, I said, you know what, I didn't work hard enough. I really didn't study because English came easy to me. But something's happening here where I'm feeling this desire to be a chiropractor, but I didn't work. I really don't know why. So I went out to lunch and I took a bunch of chiropractors out to lunch and they always ended up paying, which was nice. But there was one guy that really connected with me. And I'm like, I could see myself doing this. To this day, I don't know his name. I could see his building was a little red house building. So I re-enrolled. And I would study for hours, 5-6 hours a day. And I just said, I need to be a chiropractor. Had no idea why. Never had a magical adjustment. Now, during this whole time period, my older brother Ronnie had a neck injury playing football for University of Pennsylvania. I talk about it in the book. And he went from being an Ivy League student, he pitched a no-hitter against Yale, starting linebacker for the football team, speaking 3 fluent languages. He was a stud, to being locked up in a psychiatric hospital. And in the midst of this, I'm in my own little world figuring out what I'm going to do. And every weekend going to visit my brother in a psychiatric hospital. And no one knew what happened. He just snapped. And they would just give him all kinds of diagnosis. So lo and behold, I went to Life University because I wanted to get out of New York. And I said, let me just go somewhere far away and different. And I meet this guy, Sid Williams. And I end up at DE, my first quarter of school, by accident. All my friends were going out to party. One guy said, you need to come to this thing, DE. I knew nobody. I said, well, I'll go to the party afterward. I'll go to DE. And Michael Kale gets up in front. Anyone here, have you heard of Michael Kale? One of the biggest upper cervical chiropractors in our history. Big knee chest guy. All he talked about was volume 18. Subluxation specific, adjustment specific. Have you guys read that book? Read it. It's the biggest book B.J. Palmer ever read or wrote. Huge. Tough book to get through, but commit to read it. To see where we came from. Read that, and then read Palmer's Law of Life, his last book. And Kale got up there with this book. And listen, at this DE, there was probably 2,000 people in the room. I was literally just coming out of the Bronx. I was a bouncer bartender in the Bronx. I was kind of an ass. I'm pinned against the wall. I'm like, these people are a bunch of Fruit Loops. They're screaming all these happy, well-loved, terrific, blah, 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 and they're jumping around. The guys are hugging each other. I'm like, dudes aren't supposed to hug each other. And then Kale gets up there and starts talking about B.J. Palmer, D.D. Palmer. Starts talking about B.J. Palmer's Clearview Sanitarium. Have you guys heard of Clearview Sanitarium? Clearview Sanitarium was a chiropractic psychiatric hospital that B.J. Palmer had. He took it over, and they said 80% of the people got better at Clearview Sanitarium. And I'm like, how come I never heard about this? How come my family never heard about this? You tell me, because I was going to get into sports. I was going to be a sports chiropractor. I drew out a facility with a track and hot tubs, and I hear Kale getting up there talking about the brainstem and a medulla insult and what happens to people's lives when they have a medulla insult, aka subluxation. But I also heard what happens when that gets removed, when that gets corrected. And that's where predominantly the history and research of chiropractic was. And I started bawling like a little boy. Like, this is why I'm here. So I rode Cale's coattails, and I started working with him and training with him, and I went to Russia on a mission trip, and then connected with Sigafus and Santos, and went to Panama, Central America, because I wanted to learn how to become a great adjuster, because I wanted certainty. I wanted to own it, right? Like I used to train throwing a baseball, thousands of balls, thousands of balls, thousands of balls. I poured all that into this thing, chiropractic. Why? Because my outcome was Clearview Sanitarium. My outcome was, to this day, what if my family knew about this for Ronnie? It's a question I'll always have. It took one chiropractor to wake up and say, have you brought him to a chiropractor? And by the time I found out about it, he had been on so many drugs and dope. I mean, he lost all his teeth from them rotting out from the drugs. That I found my why. I found my purpose. Even though I wasn't supposed to be there because I wasn't smart enough and I was on the wrong charts, I knew there was a why. Someone was pushing me into this space. Because I know our family's life would have been transformed if that massive subluxation was removed. And then I always, to this day, which is why I wrote the book and I go speak, and I want chiropractors to wake up, is because this is happening in your community every single day. And the quieter we all stay, the more Ronnies there are. And that's not right. If it's your fear that's holding you back, just know there's someone getting lost in the woods for the rest of their life because you were too scared to speak up. Train your ass off, but you got to speak up. Train your ass off so when they come in on day 2, you're so connected, sign here, press hard, there's 2 copies. That's what Dr. Sid uses. It's a short conversation in my office. Now let's get to work. Because I tell them, this could suck for the first 2 months, because as your body wakes up, it's like the lights were out in your house for 30, 40 years. And I come in and turn all the lights on. How many cobwebs and spiders and shit am I going to see in all the corners? We got to clean it up. That's what your innate has to do. We're waking up your innate intelligence. We're reconnecting to you, to that source that created you from 2 cells into a human being whose life's been destroyed from what we saw on the X-ray. And your life will never be the same again. Remember how you are now, because 6 months from now, you're going to be a completely different human being. I don't know, Brad. How much time I got, Brad? Okay. Right now, your innate's talking to you. I could see it in many of your eyes. You know your answer. You just got to open that door, guys. You know what's holding you back. There's something in there that you just got to open up and say, you know what? God, it's all yours, man. I'm not living this way anymore. I'm ready for the next level. Shit. Level up. It ain't level down, baby. It's level up. And I didn't program that. That just came out, Brad. That's good stuff. And with that pain, when you go and write out those goals and say, you know what, I want a vacation 8 weeks out of the year. I want $1 million in the bank invested. I want to own 4 buildings. I want to have a Porsche Cayenne, this. I want my kids to have this. I want my spouse to have this. Okay? Now here's your vehicle. I want to be seeing 300, 500, 600 visits a week, transforming lives. I want babies who are colicky, seizures that aren't anymore. I want husbands that hate their wife, that are beating them, that love them now because they're connected. I want moms that are alcoholics, burying their emotions, not living their dream, that wake up and get off that shit so that they can perform better in their life. Because that's what happens when people wake up and their atlas is clear. I see it every single day in my office. I'm not lying to you. When they shut down and we said we couldn't have group gatherings and I couldn't do an orientation, I gave every new patient a book. Every new patient gets a book. And they come in, they read it within 2 days. They come in and say, my husband needs to come in. My kids need to come in. This is amazing. How come I never knew about this? And that's my question. And we know the answer. It's because we're weak. We're doctors. They put a doctor on our freaking name so that we could be a certain human being. Right? Be submissive. Do what we say. Collect a paycheck from the insurance company. And they bury us. They distract us. Look over here, don't look here. We'll take care of these people. We'll dope them up. You take care of the little bit of pain people. I say bullshit on that. It's all about the distraction. You know, they asked me if I had a PowerPoint. I don't do PowerPoints, but if I were to put a picture up, it'd be this. Can you see that wolf? I want to get that tattooed right here, because that talks to me. Dick Santo used to talk about the wolf and the dog. Have you guys heard the story? So society has made us a bunch of dogs. And they put a noose around the wolf's neck and it becomes a dog. Sit, lay down, put it on, don't go out, follow the dot. That shit, follow the arrow. They've been doing that to chiropractors. They're doing it to all of us, programming us. Let them burn the flag. Take God out of school. Don't have faith. Yes, yes, yes. Well, Philippians, I just lost it. Jesus flips the tables over. We got to start flipping tables, chiropractors. We got to get pissed. With love. Agape love. I was getting in the shower the other day and I said, what's the difference between a grape and agape? 2 letters, right? A grape's just a grape. They didn't put the GR in there. You got agape. I could just eat a grape, or I could mash it and make a fine wine. You guys got to be mashed. You got to be mashed. You got to cry it out, fight it out, talk it out, train it up, and then go crush it Monday. Next level, crush it. And know that God has a bigger purpose for you that maybe you didn't really truly understand. But if you allow yourself, whatever emotion, feeling you have, write it down and pick someone that you could share it with from the heart and wake up and crush it. Write your own damn book that you can hand out to the world. Share your story. Share the chiropractic story. Share the atlas, the brainstem, and what happens when chiropractors wake the flip up and tell the message of what happens to society. Is society better off or worse? Weak. Society better or worse? Better. So let's try this one more time and close this out. Listen, I appreciate your energy, and I could tell some of you got kind of hit in the sternum, and I'm glad. And if I had more time, I'd kick you in the balls. But I love and appreciate you guys. And just know I come from a space of love. I'm here for you any way I can. You know, I ask you to read the book just to kind of feel more of the experience, where it's coming from, but see where it brings you emotionally. Listen to your innate. Write it down and crush it in practice. So let's do this loud one last time. Stand up. You're going into battle Monday morning, baby. Monday morning's the day. Right now, you burn the ships, baby. The old you is out at sea. You're going to throw a stick of dynamite, blow that shit up, and create the life of your dreams and transform lives. Let's hear it freaking loud. Principal chiropractors, what is your profession? Woo, you got it, baby. We're going to do a quick group photo. Cool. Come on, let me hear you.
Hey guys, Steve Judson here, speaking on behalf of Brad Glowaki's Level Up group. And it's kind of hard for me to find words for this because I've spoken and shared in a lot of places, and this place is different. This is a class act organization. Brad does not make it about him. He makes it about the doctors, the CAs, and families. And, coming from DE, which is what we do there, Brad does that here. And he carries it into nuts and bolts to practice success. And he's in practice doing it. He's got a big family. He's doing it. So he's not speaking out of a book. He's speaking from the heart. He's sharing from lifetime experience. And one of the greatest things I see and feel here is it's not about him and he's trying to be the leader, but his group is becoming leaders and they carry each other. And they have a great mentorship program that they stick to and they hold each other accountable. So it's not all just Brad preaching, it's the group sharing with each other and carrying each other in chiropractic, in life, through their experiences. I'm one of the oldest guys here, man, and I'm learning stuff. It's great. It's great to share with these young guys, and it just gives me hope in our profession that we are heading in the right direction with leadership like this, and we can lift up young leaders that are going to carry the profession forward when it's time for us to step aside. So I highly recommend this. Brad's a class act. He's top notch. We're in an airport hangar now, which I've never seen done. He made it happen during a tough time to lift people up. There's been tears, there's been joy, there's been clapping, there's been fellowship, and there's been work. Work in the right direction, working towards the principle, and creating a principle life. And that's what we're all about, and that's what Brad's about, and I support him 110%. God bless you all.